right, I think, okay, now we're ready. Sorry, thought it was ready, but I really wasn't, but now we are. All right, so what I'm gonna do today is walk you through this and help you see how you can use this to make some money in this business. Because for me, at the end of the day, it's one thing for me to get in and teach you how to use the system, which is important, obviously, but more important to me is how do I use it to make some money? And so I'm gonna show you some things that I have done with this system, which the interesting thing is what some of the stuff I'm going to show you today are things that I did just as part of this class, essentially. So I wasn't really going in and using this. I am not currently using the system to try to generate business, but here's what I will tell you is it is going to generate some business for me just from me doing what I'm showing you in class and not doing anything else. So if you'll take the next step beyond what I'm showing you, you can really take this to a whole new level. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what it is that I am looking at. So there's two different ways that you can go about getting into the Zap system. So hopefully you're seeing my screen now and you should be able to see it. Okay, good. Yeah, it looks like it. All right, so the first way you can go about doing it is if you go to 21online.com. And then when you get to 21online.com, you're just going to use your username and password to log into 21 Online. So it's typically going to be your first name dot last name at century21.com and then your password. If for whatever reason you don't know what that is, you can click on the forgot password there, and or down here at the bottom, you can see it's got this phone number for the help desk. If you're having a problem, you can always call that help desk and they can help you get logged in as well. So the first way that and this is not the preferred way, by the way, I'm going to just show you guys this way, then I'll show you how I do it actually. But I want you to know in case you forget the other way. So if you just log into 21online.com, it's going to take you into the system, which once you log in, and of course mine's being a little slow all of a sudden now. Once you log in, it's going to bring you to this screen so that you can see this. Now, from here, I could either type in up here at the top, I can just type in Zap, and then down here has got the login to Zap, so I could do that. That's one of the options. The other option that you have is that you can come up here to where, and this is typically how I would go about it if I was going to do it through 21 Online, which I usually don't, but is you click on menu here and then go to Productivity Hub. And under the Productivity Hub, if you will just scroll all the way to the bottom, because these are all in alphabetical order, you'll see Zap Login. You click Access Zap. And once you click on that, it is then going to take you into the system. Now, once you log in, it's going to bring you to here. So the way that I typically go about getting into Zap, though, is using this right here. If you will go to new.myzap.com. So that's usually the way that I'm going to go about doing it, is you go to new.myzap.com. And then what'll happen is it'll bring you to a login screen. Let me log out so you can see here. It'll bring you to this Zap login screen. Again, the username and password is the exact same as 21 Online. So if you ever change your 21 Online password, it'll automatically change it in Zap as well. So that's the good news, is you can use the exact same username and password, but if for whatever reason you had the 21 Online saved and you didn't hear or whatever, you can go through 21 Online. So I'm going to click next. It brings up the spot for the password. I click sign in and it's going to land me on here. So when you get logged into Zap, what you're going to want to do is what's going to happen is it'll first land you on just this dashboard. So this is the dashboard. I'm going to have a couple of things as we go through this with you guys. I'm an administrator in the system, so I'm going to have some things that you will not have. For example, up here, you can see I can look at it as an agent or an admin up here. So I've got it set to the agent, so it should look for the most part the same, but there's a few things that will be a little different, but not much. So here's the idea of this dashboard. The idea of the dashboard is going to be around, do you have any requests that have come into the system? Do you have any new leads in the system? Do you have any meetings scheduled? Do you have any reminders that you have set up, or do you have any updates due? And I'll show you what those things look like and what that means here as we go through this along the way. But ultimately, just know when you first log into the dashboard, the idea behind this dashboard is just for you to be able to know when you first log in, do you have some things that need to be taken care of? So for example, if you're using the system the right way, when you log in the morning, you should have some reminders that are in here for you to call people. And I'll say more about that as we go through this. As far as the requests and new leads, depending on what you're doing with the system, you may or may not end up with very much in there. So, and I'll say more about that as we go as well. But just kind of knowing that when you first get here, this is the dashboard. So what I want to take you through today initially is just how do you get it set up? What do you do with the website? Those type of things. So the first thing that you're going to want to do when you come in here is you're going to want to click up here on either your picture or your name. And if you don't have a picture, that's fine. I'll show you where you can fix that. But what you're going to do is you're going to click on your name here, and then you won't have this proxy as user. So because I'm an administrator, I have the ability I could go in and look at your login. I can't do anything, but I can go and see it. The idea behind that just is that way, if you ever had an issue and you needed some help with it, I could go in and see what you're seeing. But the first place we're going to go to then on this Zap Basics and the stuff that I want you guys to understand on this is we want to go to the My Website. So if you will click on that to go to the My Website, that's going to bring you to this page right here. And so, and if you guys have questions along the way, feel free to unmute and just interrupt me as we're going. Otherwise, I will keep you guys muted just so there's not background noise. But all right, so when you first land on this, I'm going to come up here again. I'm going to go to my name. I click on the My Website, and that's going to bring me here to see my website. So you have a website through this Zap system that you are able to use and market. And so I'll say more about that in just a second as well. But when you first land on here, you'll notice it has this cover photo here. And by default, so in fact, I'm not sure who we have on. Do we have anybody from California on? Either throw it in the chat box or unmute or give me a thumbs up or something. I don't know. Any California or just Utah? I think most looking are Utah. All right. So the reason I asked that is that this is going to be the default photo, regardless of where you're at in Utah. If you're in California, there's a separate one, is the reason I asked that. So same thing with your photo here, which I just noticed I'm wearing the same suit. Luckily, I'm not wearing the same tie from that picture, but I have the same suit on. So if you want to change this cover photo, you can just click up here where it shows change cover photo, and you could change that to something else if you want. If you want to change your photo, click on the pencil. You can modify it, or the plus sign if you want to add a different picture. So from here, if you want to change the photo, the one thing that I just always caution people on is if you are wanting to change the photo up there, what you want to make sure to do is that you have the copyrights to the photo, is just to save yourself some problems of, copyright infringement. You don't want to go steal a photo that you do not have the rights to. Now, there is a way, if you want to go figure out on that, is when you go to Google and go to images, there is a spot that you can go, well, let me just show you real quick. So if I wanted to get some photos of Salt Lake, let's say, I put in Salt Lake City here into Google, and I go to images, that's showing me all these photos. Well, some of these are going to be copyrighted that you can't use. So if you will go to, and I think, nope, it's under tools. Yep, under tools. So if you click on tools up here, and then there's usage rights right here, and hold on, maybe they've changed this a little bit. It used to have a spot that not ones that were available for usage, and let me see. All right, they've changed this up on me. It used to be that you could come here and there was one that was labeled as, and I can't remember even what it was called, but labeled for any use or something. I can't remember the wording on it, but basically you knew if you had selected that there was no copyright infringements on it. So looks like they've changed it. So I'll have to go back and Google that another time to see how to find it now. But just know, if you want to use that, make sure you have the rights. And if not, go do a Google search of how to find photos that are not copyrighted that you could use. So, all right. So that's what this is. Now, to view your website, you're going to click on this View My Website right here. That's going to then open this up for you to be able to see what your website looks like. So we are now on my website, my Zap website. Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you guys is, notice up here that the URL, which is what this is called, is, look how long that is for my website. It's homesforsale.com, or excuse me, homeforsale.century21.com/century-21-Everest, it keeps going. Well, obviously you don't really want to use that. So one of the first things that I would recommend that you guys do as part of using your Zap system. Now, again, you don't need to do this if you're not going to be promoting your website, but if you're going to go out and do some things to promote your website, you want to do what I'm recommending now. And that is, you can go to a like GoDaddy or some domain registrar and buy a domain, a website name, basically. And so what I did is I went and bought russorchard.com. So if I want to tell somebody to go to my website, I would just say to go to russorchard.com. They type in russorchard.com, hit enter, and then guess what? It didn't work. Oh, there we go. All right. And guess what? It takes them right to that website. Now you'll notice up here, the way I have it set up, and I don't know enough to know if this is good, bad, or indifferent, but I have it set up to where what it's called masking. So that what happens is, no matter where they go on my website, it looks like they're staying here. Now, if you don't do that, if you don't mask your website, even though they go to russorchard.com, once they get there, they would see this. So, and I don't know if it makes a difference or not. I'm not smart enough to know that. I just know that I didn't want to have people looking at that whole long thing. So let's see. All right, Rebecca says, when I click view my website, another agent's website. Oh, that's not good. All right, Rebecca, shoot me an email, or even just maybe let's stay on at the end of this for a few minutes. Let's do that. Just at the end of this, stay on and remind me, and then I'll pull it up and we'll see if we can figure out why that's happening. So, because yeah, that should not. I have some ideas potentially. Actually, I don't know that I've ever seen it go to another agent's website, but I've seen scenarios where it's not working, and I think I know what to do to fix that. So we'll take
really quick, I just wanted to tell you, it's weird because when I click view my website, it actually doesn't show a specific person until you scroll down, and each time it's a different person. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Interesting. Well, let me actually, so all right, now you got me curious. So let me do this. All right. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a look at it just in case anybody else is having that same issue. So now I can't do any of this, anything to change this, Rebecca, but I can at least see it. So. Okay. You know, so what it's done, yep, I think I know what the problem is. What it has done is yours is not turned on for some reason, which we'll turn it on here at the end. And well, in fact, actually, let me just see if I can do it real quick.
It's weird too, because I have a client that downloaded the app that I sent her, but even though I've put in all of her contact information, it doesn't show that she has searched for anything. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what the problem is, but for some reason, it's not wanting to cooperate right now, which is typically what happens when you're on the spot. Okay, well, let's just at the end, we'll the end, I'll stick around with you and we'll get it fixed. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. And if not, then we'll call the help desk, but I'm pretty sure I know what do we need to do. All right, so next thing then, so that's the view my website. So typically what I recommend doing is going and purchasing that domain name so that you have easier access. Meaning, like, if you were going to go out and market your website, you probably don't want to go out and market it by using this whole long string down here, like I was telling you. So instead, what you would do is go purchase a domain, forward it to this website. That way it's then there. Same thing with the mobile app. You have a mobile app. So let me explain the mobile app and how that all works real quick. So on the mobile app is actually just Century 21's app. So Century 21 has their own app on both the Google Play and the Apple Store, but you have your own version of it, basically, which is not really separate version looking. And the reason I say all this and want you to understand it is, if somebody were to just go to the Google Play Store or the App Store on Apple, and they were to download the Century 21 app, it's going to look exactly the same as your app. So what you want to do on this is you want to make sure that that you are sending someone this link here. So typically I recommend copying it and then sending it to them as either an email or a text message, so that you want them to access that link while they're on their phone. And then from there, they can download the app. And what will happen is it will then tie that to you. So on Rebecca's, my guess is, because what's happening is your website's just not turned on. And I think it's just a switch we got to flip that will turn it on. And I don't know why that happens. It just every now and then, it's supposed to automatically set it up. But for the last 5 years, just every now and then we'll get an agent that it doesn't turn it on for some reason. So anyway, we'll get it turned on and then you should be good to go. But as long as they're using that app, your app, from this link, what'll happen then is it is going to download for them the app, but it's going to tie it to you, so that anything they do on there, you'll be able to be notified and track as to what they're doing. Okay, so I showed you here. Here's what the website looks like. You can see as I come down here, it's got this My Listings, it's got some client testimonials, some experience, and those type of things. Now, where you're going to control that though is on this, again, clicking on your name, going to My Website. From here is where you're going to basically design your website to see what make it look the way you want to. Now, you don't have a lot of control, meaning you can't like totally customize it as much as some people may want to, but I will say you can customize it enough for what most people are going to do on their website. So the first area is this content section, and underneath that content section is got this About Me. Well, where that's going to show up on your website is right here below your picture. So whatever you type in there, you can see I've got licensed since 1996. You can then have that show up here. Now, this information is just a text box. Now, unfortunately, I wish it was an HTML editor. It's not. And if you don't know what that means, then don't worry, because you probably wouldn't be doing much with it anyway. But I wish it was an HTML editor, which basically would mean you could put photos and videos and things. But as of right now, it's just a text box. So you would just type in any text that you wanted to show up right here on your website, okay? The next thing here is this bio homepage. So this bio homepage is going to show up on your website up here at the top right here. Now, so you're going to decide, do you want to be able to customize that page? Do you want to have a separate banner? You can put any text that you want in here. Now, you'll notice if I go to it that I really don't have anything there. So you'll see there's just nothing there. It's got some search stuff, but that's it. So if you want to put stuff in there, you're going to do that by creating the banner here, which you don't have to have, putting in any text. Here's the module information, so a heading, more text, and you can just put all that in there. Now, let me explain to you what you want to do on this. If you are going to create a bio homepage and use that, what I would recommend is this. On that page, NAR does a study every year of buyers and sellers. And one of the questions that they ask as part of that study every year is, what is the first thing you did when you decided you wanted to buy a home? Now, the very first thing that they say that they do is that they went to the internet to do a search for properties. So that's the first step that people usually take. The second step, though, that people take in terms of searching for a home is, what's the home buying process? They want to know what is the process that's involved in buying a home. So for me, if you're going to use this buy a home page, the information you want to put down here in this buy a home content module is the things that somebody would need to know about buying a home, because that's the most searched information, or excuse me, second most searched information that a buyer is going to be looking for, is what are the steps that they need to know about buying a home. So the next page you can do is this sell a home page, which again is going to show up right here. And I was going to say, I didn't think I'd put anything in there, but it looks like maybe I did. But so same process there is, you're going to just click on the sell a home page. You're going to decide, do you want to display a custom banner or not? Do you want to be even using the page or not? And then you're going to go put in the content that you want to have show up right here on your page. And then the last one is this custom pages. So you can create other pages as well if you wanted to have other things. And honestly, I don't know what you necessarily would put on there, but you could create and put some other pages on there, and they would show up up here at the top just next to sell. So whatever page you created would show up there. All right. So that's the content area. The next thing down here is this areas served. So at any time, you can always bounce to different places through clicking on these links. So I can either scroll down to get to areas served, or I could just click on the link and it'll take me down there as well. So under the areas served is going to show up right here on your website. Let me go back to the home page here. Oh, messed it up there. All right, here we go. This is where areas served is going to show up. So right here is what's going to display there, these cities, is whatever I have put in right here. Now you'll also notice, and I apologize, I'm bouncing back and forth so much, but it shows as areas served right here. If you wanted to call it something different under this heading, you could change that, and that would change the name as well. But outside of that, then you're going to just decide what are the cities that you want to have in here. So you're going to go through and put in the cities that you want to be working in and that you want to have people know that you work in. Now you'll notice up here that you can have up to 21 cities. And so what I would recommend that you do is decide how many you want and what those cities are, and then go through and put those cities in there. Now, the order that they're going to show up on the page here as well, so you'll notice Salt Lake County shows up, then Cottonwood, then downtown. Well, that's because that's the order that I have it right here. So whatever order you want them to show up on your page, you can just drag and drop. So if I wanted this one to show up here, I can drag it and drop it there, okay? So you just drag and drop. If you want to delete one of the cities that's in there, why is it not letting me drag it now? Come on. Well, I'll just delete it to get rid of it then. All right. So to delete one, you just find the X, hover over it, and delete it. Now that it's been deleted, you can see right here, it shows add new city. Now, here's the thing on this. On this, typically what I have found is people get to here and they click on this and they're like, they're expecting it to open a box for them to type in. And so a lot of times I'll get a call from people saying, hey, I was trying to add a city and it won't let me. Well, the first question that I always have is, how many cities do you have showing? Well, so in this case, if they said 15 out of 21, then I would know, okay, the problem is you just got to start typing. If it said 21 of 21, then I'd say, well, you've already reached your 21, you got to delete one first. So typically though, when you think it's not working, you just have to start typing. So if I started to type in Washington, Utah there and select it, you can see it's now, even though it says it didn't recognize the city, it actually did. Oh, come on. All right, so you can see it did and it put it in there. So you can add whichever cities and then from there drag and drop them to where you want them to be. All right, so that's the areas served. Next is going to be the My Sold Homes. So you're going to decide, do you want it to show or not show? So again, up here, let me redo this for a second here. All right, there it is, the My Recently Sold Homes. So it's showing then the My Recently Sold Homes. If I did not want those to be showing up, I would just click that to turn it off. Now, let me explain why you potentially would want to do that. Is what the system is going to do is it's only going to show homes that you have sold since you've been with Century 21. So if you were an agent at another company and came here and have not had any homes sell that you have sold since you have been at Century 21, nothing's going to show up. Or if you've only had one, only one's going to show up. Well, so if you don't want just one showing up, I would recommend go turn it off. So let's see. Okay, Batsuk, sorry, I didn't notice there was a question here from a little, oh, maybe you just put it in. How about different state and country? I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, in the areas served? Is that that's probably what you're talking about? I never tried that, but I guess the question is, can you serve somebody in another state in another country? And that would only be if you're licensed there. But let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it will let you. It looks like it's only going to let you show up areas that are in Utah. So to answer that question, Batsu, it'll only do it if you're for cities in Utah. All right. So that's the My Sold Homes. So that's how you're going to decide, do you want it on or off from there, okay? All right, next is the Agent Insights. Under this Agent Insights, the idea of this is basically a way of keeping your site relevant, I guess, in terms of search engines and things like that. So if I come back over here to my website, you can see here's where the My Recently Sold Homes is going to show up. Here's client testimonials. And as I scroll down, you're going to see this properties that I've toured. So the way that it's going to decide what it shows there is based on this Agent Insights. And so what you would want to do is do insights on properties. And the way that you're going to do that is there's two ways you could go about it. One is through the Zap app, or if you scroll down here, you can add a property insight. So if I click on add insight, and then you would either type an MLS number or a property address. I'll just start to type one in and we'll see what comes up, if anything. All right, and then here it brings up this property here in Park City. So I've now brought that up. It's got a spot here for me to put some insights. The idea of this would be, I've gone out and looked at this home, and I'm gonna just put some, whatever my thoughts were on it. You know, great property. You won't regret looking at it, something like that. All right. Then from there, I can add these tags. I can say, oh, it's in good condition. It's got an open layout. It's got great views. It's near shops, lots of lighting, which I don't know if it has any of this stuff, but sounds good. And then I'm going to hit publish. Okay. So now that's going to create that as a property insight on my website here, which you can see it's got it up here at the top. It shows contingent. So there must be an offer that's on that property already. But you can see it's got great property. You won't regret looking at it. It's got the tags that I put in there, all of that. This one down here is showing now as off market. So part of what you want to do as you go through these is you're probably going to want to go through and delete the ones that are no longer available. So again, so when I say that's how you're going to keep your site relevant as far as search engines go, is if you would at least once a week, but a couple times a week, go in and do some property insights and delete the ones that are, you know, not there anymore or whatever. Get rid of those properties so that they're not showing up there. That's part of how you're going to show the search engines that you're keeping your website updated and working. And I'm not sure why these blue dots keep going there. So let me refresh here. All right. So that's the agent insights. Now let's talk about local insights. So the local insights, to get to those, you're just going to click here. On your website, the local insights show up down here at the bottom. And you can do those local insights based on, you can see I did this one on a neighborhood. This one was on a neighborhood that the Kaysville Sunset Farms. This one is just on the city, and then another city, and another city. So that's what you're going to do on this. So these local insights, you can do it for a city, a neighborhood, a subdivision, or a zip code. Now, when we first got trained on this system, what happened is they came to us, and when I say they, meaning the trainers for Century 21, came to us to train us on this system. And what they said to us is they were talking about having your website be searchable on Google. Well, as they were doing the class, they were talking to us and telling us about this agent in Minnesota that was so good at what they were doing, and that they had good visibility on Google. Well, so I went and did a search for that agent's name in that city, and they didn't show up anywhere in my search. And so part of what I would say is yes, it's going to make you more relevant, but keep in mind, you're going to have a hard time on your own personal website of keeping up with a Zillow or any of the national brand websites, because they've got tons and tons of money to spend on this that is going to make them more relevant than what your website here in Utah is going to be. Now, with that being said, though, the reason I tell you all that is I don't want you to think, oh, I'm going to just create this and people are going to go search homes for sale in Salt Lake and I'm going to show up, because you're probably not. But what you could potentially do is, where you could do that is if you drill down into neighborhoods or subdivisions, you might have a better chance of showing up. Now, to some extent, I have noticed with that as well, that some of the other big names are recognizing that and starting to do that as well. So and I haven't done it for a while, so you may not even be able to show up anymore. Zillow may have trumped you that way as well. But just kind of know that that's kind of the way, again, of keeping your site relevant, is doing local insights and keeping them updated. So you can see this one was done in 2018, that one's 17. So I probably really ought to go do some updates on some of these local insights. But that's where you're going to do those. Same thing, to do that, you're just going to come down here, click on add local insight, type in the city, the neighborhood, subdivision, or the zip code. So we'll just do this Greens at the Highlands, and then from there I would type in whatever header, put in some comments. If you want to put in some tags, you could do that as well, and then you would save it. Now, let me show you though. You'll notice that what I have done on, let me find, well, I had it on that one actually. So you can see on this one for Ivans here, one of the things that I would recommend doing is that whatever you put in there for your comments on these local insights, make sure you put your phone number in there as well, so that it's showing up there on the phone number. Now, the part of why I say that is, and initially, Century 21 would occasionally show your insights on their national website, and I don't believe they're doing that anymore. But when that had happened, the only way anybody would have ever been able to contact you is if they actually clicked on it to go to some information. So I always recommend putting your phone number in here, so that if somebody wanted to call you, they could call based off that local insight, because it's got your phone number right in there. All right. So that's the agent insights. So both property insights and local insights. The next is this SEO playbook, which again, if you just scroll down, you'll get to it, or you click up here at the top. This SEO playbook is again designed around trying to help you be more searchable on the search engines. And so it's got on here a few to-dos that you can do. So the first one you can see is, if you have a domain name, which that's where I was saying to go buy, like russorchard.com, you can have it forwarded to your Zap site. So it's got a little checkbox there for you to check it off once you've done it. If you're not sure what to do, you would just click learn more and it'll walk you through it. Then it's got some link building. So part of what makes sites searchable on Google is that there are links that link back to that site. And the more links there are, the better off it shows. So what they're recommending here is go claim your business on Google My Business. So what you're going to probably want to do is go and put like your home address, because if you try to put the office address, it's probably not going to work, because the company has already claimed that as an address. But if you claimed like your home, or you could, I guess, potentially try to claim the office address with a suite number that was like 63724 or something. I don't know. You'd have to get one that didn't already exist as a suite number. But if you claim that, then that'll link back. You can create a Yelp profile. Same thing. You click all of these things. If you click learn more, it'll tell you how to do it. And then just check it off as you go through and do it. And what you want to do is go through and create all of those things so that it's going to make your site more searchable and more likely to show up. All right, the next thing on there is this content, which is saying write information that has rich local insights weekly for cities and towns that you service. So you saw on mine, I'm not really using this to try to do any business, but you'll notice on there it was 2018 and 17 on some of them that I had done. And write property insights on homes you've toured a few times a week, but again, I would say minimum once a week. And then periodically ask your contacts to give you ratings, and I'll show you where to do that. Because one of the things that shows up here on your website is it'll show this satisfaction rating. And you can see I'm rated as a 5 out of 5. So what you want to do is just periodically on this, have your clients go and do some reviews for you, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And then it's got some social media tasks for you to do as well. That again, if you went through and did all these, is going to make your site the most searchable of probably anybody, because I bet not many actually go through and do all this. All right, the next one is this resources section. Under the resources section is where that's going to show up on your website is right here. So you will notice I've got my own name on here just because I was doing one as an example, and then I've got this Triton Plumbing. Now, I typically don't recommend putting resources on your website, and the only reason I say that is if somebody goes down there and clicks on it, they're leaving your website and most likely not coming back. So I don't want people to leave my website, is typically why I'm not going to go through and add this resources section. But it could be valuable for your SOI if you wanted to create on there a list of a plumber, an electrician, I don't know what else, a contractor, just a handyman, whatever. If you wanted to have those, and then you could get your sphere of influence trained, hey, if you ever need help with you need a good plumber, because people tend to do that. Like I get asked all the time from people, who do you use for when you have on a listing the plumbing issue or whatever? Well, who I usually recommend is this Triton Plumbing. So I have just created that then as a link on here. So you could tell your sphere of influence, hey, here's the people that I recommend if you needed, a plumber, an electrician, or any of those type of things. So, but that's under this section. So to do that, you would just type in the name, put in their website, and then you're going to create other, and it'll give you the option to type in what that is, so that way it'll show up as plumber or whatever. So we've got this default list of things, but if you've got others, which plumber wasn't on here, I don't believe, as one of the things. So if I wanted to, I'll create one here. My brother-in-law, he's not doing it full time anymore, but is an electrician. So I'm going to put it as other and save. Oh, I have to put in a link, so I guess I won't. All right, so you would have to have a website there, but then I would save it, and then from then on, it's going to show up and give me that different option down in there. Okay. All right, so that's the resources. The reviews section, you've got two different options on this. One is display testimonials that are managed in Zap and display all reviews received. And so I usually just leave mine as the display testimonials that are managed in Zap. And because here's why. What I had found, and I think they've fixed this now, but at one point, it seems logical that you would say display all reviews that received. But if you do that, for whatever reason, it turns off the reviews that are done through Real Satisfied. So every time you close on a property, our company is going to send out a request for somebody to do a review on you. And when they do that review and send it back in, it'll then show up. And now you would logically think, well, click on display all reviews received for those to show up. But, and like I say, they may have fixed this now, but for a long, long time, it didn't show up if you use that one. So I usually recommend you use this display testimonies that are managed in Zap, because then it'll show up for both. So you can see I've got only 3 reviews on here, but those 3 reviews that are on there are ones that have come through the real satisfied system. It's not done through here, but I'm going to show you how to get people to do them here, because some of you guys are new agents that haven't closed a deal yet. And so you still want to get reviews, but the real satisfied is not going to be sending out reviews. So I'll show you how to do that here in just a few minutes. Next down here is professional information. So on this one is where you're going to be able to put your My Experience, any credentials and membership, and then also any community involvement that you have done would show up here. So you can see I just put some gibberish in here, but if I scroll down on the website, you'll see here's where My Experience would show up. Here's my credentials and membership, and then here's the gibberish that I put in there for my community involvement. So essentially, that's how you're going to work your website. Okay, so that first section up here was this My Website. That is where you're going to keep control of all of that and design your website. So, all right, next thing that I'm going to show you guys. So the next piece of this is I'm just going to click to go back to the dashboard. You don't really need to. I could have done it from anywhere. But you'll notice up at the top here, it's got this add right here, okay? So there are 3 ways to get people added into the Zap system. And at any time, so let me even just go back to the My Website. You'll notice it still had this up here as this add. So from anywhere in the system, I can click on add. And what this is going to do is this is where I can go if I want to add a new contact. I could add a new agent insight or a local insight. So you don't have to. So I really even could from just this dashboard here, I could click on add and I could add a new insight for a property or a local insight right from there. I could add a new listing appointment or buyer consultation. I don't know many agents that are actually using the system for this, but you can. And then I can add a new reminder, which I'll come back to in just a little bit, okay? All right, so the next thing though that I wanted to walk you through is adding people into the system. So there's 3 ways that you can go about adding contacts into the system. The first one is add individual contact. So if I just go to add individual, I can type in a first name, last name, email address, phone number, and then you can see here, I can add address, I could add lead information, I could add birthdays, anniversaries, I could put in notes, professional information, their social media, property interests, or partner. So meaning if they had a spouse or just a partner, you can put that in there as well. So that's the first way, is you can just go through and type in the information to create a lead in here. The second way that you can do it, which actually there technically probably is 4 ways that you can do it, but well, let me say it this way. You could look at it as 4 ways or 2 ways that you can do it. So one is individual contact. The other 3 are kind of really just all importing, but I'll explain what that looks like now. So I click add and go to import contacts. So from here, it's showing 2 different ways that I can go about importing my contacts. One is I could upload a CSV file. So if you have them in a spreadsheet, you want to save it as a CSV file, you would come in here, click upload, and you're going to browse to find where it's at on your computer and then upload it to there. Now there is a sample CSV file here if you wanted to use the sample to build the CSV file. But the good thing is when you actually put one in here and click add, then what ends up happening is once you click on that add, what it's going to do is it'll have you label each of the columns across the top. So you'll say this column is first name, this column is last name, this column is phone numbers. So that's the cool thing. So you don't have to use this sample CSV file. If you do, it just has it already in the order, but you decide. All right, the other way you can get your contacts is if you had them stored in Google, you could click import contacts from Google, and what it's going to do is bring you to log into your Google account, and then you could grab your contacts and upload them that way as well. The final way that you can do it is you can do it right from your phone. So I'm going to stop the screen share for just a minute so that I can just show you on your phone. So what you would want to do if you were going to add them from your phone is you're either on an Android or an iPhone. If you're using an Android, the best thing to do is throw it against the wall and then go buy an iPhone. I'm just kidding. But what you would do is the first thing you're going to want to do is download the Zap app. So if you go, for example, into the App Store or to the Google Play Store and you do a search for the Zap app, what you're going to be looking for is, let me find it on here. All right, I know I have it on here somewhere. There it is. It's going to look like that. Hopefully you can see it. Zap, that kind of turquoise colored one there. That's what you're going to look for, is the app that looks like that. Now, once you have gotten that app and you log into it, which your login for that is going to be exactly the same as what you would use on 21 Online. So once you have logged into it, it's going to look like this, which, yeah. Now, for me to, if I want to import contacts from there, what I can do is on the iPhone version, there's a plus sign up in the top corner there that you're hopefully seeing. Yep. And once you click on that plus sign, it's going to give me the option then to, oops, going the wrong way, import contacts. If I click on import contacts, it's going to then ask for permission to access the contacts that are on my phone. And once I give it permission, then you can see now all the contacts have shown up, and I could just go through and select those, the little button that I don't know if you can see on there, but there's a radio button. You'd click on that to select it. If I select one, then you'll be able to see it. Yeah, like that. You're going to select those, and then you're just going to click on the import right there. Now, on the Android devices, there's one extra step you have to do. So you'll notice down here at the bottom, it says, oops, I'm turning it the wrong way. I'm doing a horrible job at this. Sorry, probably making you sick. There's a thing that says contacts on there. You're going to click contacts. Then on the Android, down in the bottom left, you're going to have a thing that says, or might be right, actually, bottom right, that has the plus sign. That's where you're going to go into add from there. So you would go through and select the people you want to add, and you can add them from your phone, and it'll import them right in to the system. All right. Hopefully that all makes sense. But that's how you're going to get people into the system here. So now that I've got the people in here, and we're almost done, guys. I'm just going to show you, this is where, this is the, I know I hate teaching technology stuff because it's just not fun and exciting, but now's the time to wake up. Now's the time to pause the days of our lives if you're watching a soap opera at home, and pay attention. Because here's where this is where you're going to make some money off this, okay? Now, remember I said to you that Realogy went and bought the Zap system for $167 million? The main reason they spent the money to do that, to this $167 million, is because of this Zap Score right here. This is kind of where the magic hits the road, or the rubber hits the road. This is where the magic happens, is on this Zap Score. So now that you've got the people in here, so you can see this is showing I've got 129 people that are in the system. So once you get them input into the system, the first thing you're going to want to do is come and select them all. Then you're going to go over here to bulk actions and do share my website. Now, once that brings this up, you're going to see from right here, it's got a message in here created. If you don't like the way it's worded, change how it's worded. Down here gives you a preview of what that email is going to look like when you send it to them, so that they can see it. Now you'll notice there's a spot for sign in now when you send that out. So what you're going to want to do is you want to get the people set up, go select them. You're going to do bulk actions and share website. Now, once you do that, well, in fact, actually, let me go find one or two that we could do that with here. Let me see who would be good. These are just kind of, you can see I've just done some pretty random stuff of putting people in, but yeah, let's do this one. All right. So I'm going to select her, and go up here. Typically you would do it for one per or multiple people, but I'm just going to do this one for her. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do send email. Okay. So it's just now shared an email to her of my website and with the message that I had sent. Now, as long as she clicks on that sign in now, then it's going to basically give me access to quote unquote track her, which is not necessarily really tracking them per se, but somewhat. And I'll explain what that means here. So you'll notice up here, this J to Spain. Now, when I first did that, I had gone through and I did this. I went to bulk action, share website, and then I hit send. When I did that the first time in a class to show people how it worked, I clicked send and nothing happened. So I clicked send again and nothing happened. And I clicked send again and nothing happened. And I clicked send again and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, what ended up actually happening is I got a text from this guy that said, I think your email has been hacked because I just got 8 emails from you all at the same time. And I was like, oh, shoot. So it really was sending the email. So here's what I would say that I have learned is in the process of you doing that, once you click send, I usually recommend put yourself in there as a contact as well. And then when you hit that send button, I've never had a problem with it since, but I have heard other people that have from time to time had it do that same thing. But when you, as long as you're in there and you hit send, then check and see if you got the email. If you got it, everyone else did as well. Don't keep hitting send. Because I think a lot of the reason that a bunch of these people did not opt in, which you can see as I scroll down here, how many this none means they haven't, is because they got so many emails they thought it was spam, they didn't dare to click on it. So, all right, let's see. Nicole's asking a question. When you were scrolling through your contacts, why do some of them say new personal contact and some say hot personal? Good. Yeah, good question. I will show you that in just a minute. I want to talk about this Zap Score for a minute, and then I'll get right into what you were asking about. All right. So on the Zap Score, what you will notice when I come and hover over this, it shows me that J to Spain is showing very high activity. Now notice, here's the key word, high activity relative to your other contacts. So keep in mind, when your contacts, somebody's showing is very high, it is in relation to every other contact you have in there. So it's not saying like the system has identified that once they've done they're a very high Zap score. It actually is doing it that way because it's saying relative to everybody else you have in here, this is your best one. Now, once you get more than 99 people that have opted in, so you can see I've got 129 up here, but not all 129 have clicked on the link to go into my website. Once you have 99 or more, it changes it from very high to gives them a 1 through 99. So if you had 200 people in there, you could potentially have 2 that are ranked as 99, and then you'd have 2 at 98. If you had 300, you might have 3 at 99. But it's ranking them relative to everyone else. Now, so here's the cool thing. So when you look at this, you'll notice here it shows logged into the website 3 times last week, viewed 1 home details page last week, viewed 5 home detail pages 4 more weeks ago, and logged in 3 times 4 more. So it's going to keep track of what they're doing. This Brandon Baird shows here that he logged onto the website 1 time 2 weeks ago and logged on to the website 3 times 4 more weeks ago. Now, here's the interesting thing with this, guys. I am not doing anything personally. I'm not spending any time trying to drive these people to the website. The system is doing that all on their own. So here's the key. You'll notice down here, some of these that are just none, they have not gone to the website. Once you get them onto the website, you can essentially keep drawing them back in if you do it right. Now, when I say if you do it right, I'll show you what that means in just a minute. But the interesting thing with Jay Despain here is I put him in here, like I said, he was the one who called me and said, hey, your system spammed me, basically. And I apologized to him, told him, no, it was me. I just accidentally hit it that many times. I got him to click on it and to go into the site. And since then, he has been keeping an eye on properties. See, here's what I know is he was doing that and tracking properties in here for a while. And then one day I was out walking on the trail in my neighborhood. This was probably, I don't know, 4 months ago or so. And he said to me, "Hey, Russ, just so you know, I've been taking a look at your website." Now, the truth is, I knew that because it shows me here what he's doing, but I didn't say I knew. I just said, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Are you finding it helpful?" And he's like, "Yeah, I had a question for you on one of the properties." And then he asked me a question about it. Now, he also then said, "Look, we're getting close to retirement, not quite ready. We're probably a year or two out, but here's what we're thinking." Now, all of that happened as a now the truth is he probably remembered I was an agent anyway, because he has referred business to me over the years. But I will tell you, the cool thing about it is I now knew before he ever said anything, I knew he was starting to think about selling his property. This Brandon Baird, I helped him buy the property that he's in a while ago. But here's what I know is he still comes in here at least probably once a month. And that's probably about right. Once a month, he will log into my system and take a look at properties. Now, part of that tells me he's probably starting to think about it as well. Part of that being, I know I helped him buy the property he's in, and I don't remember what he spent. I want to say 225, something like that. It's probably worth this 346. That's probably pretty close to what his property is worth now. So I know he's got some good equity in there. And when I sold him the property, he was a single guy. I have not talked to him since he bought it. I know I'm a horrible agent, but I'm not focused on trying to generate more business. I'm spending my time training you guys. If I was, though, I would be calling him pretty regularly to just touch base, see how he's doing. Because what I know is the fact that he's on there looking, he's starting to think about it. And it might be a little while before he does anything, but he's starting to think about it. And then last on here, I've got my wife, which you can look. She logged in one time 2 weeks ago is all. Now, I'll show you what I am doing to get these guys to log in and do all this. So I'm going to click on Jay here. Now, I'm inside of his contact information. From here, I could log a call, I could send an email, or I can add a reminder. So again, if you're using this to work your sphere of influence, you would want to come in here and put in a reminder and set reminders for when you want to be calling that person. So I would be using that in here. The other thing you want to do from within this is click on this and come down and ask for a review from them. That's how you're going to get your reviews to start showing up, is come into the contacts, go in and ask for a review. And I would call them and say, "Hey, Jay, I'm going to send you an email asking you to review me. Will you do that?" Anytime you go out and show properties to anybody, put them into Zap and send an ask afterwards. Say, "I'm going to send you a review. Will you just give me a review on showing you properties?" So they're not reviewing you on an agent and how great you were at getting them a good deal at this point. It would just be reviewing that, hey, he met us out, was really professional, he showed us properties, whatever, okay? The other thing, the next thing down here in this contact information is this basic info. Now, and I think this is probably the question that, Nicole, that you had on that was, what were some of those things? Well, down here are some tags. So these ones that are grayed out are ones that were generated by the system. So it's showing that it was an agent lead, that he's receiving watched homes alerts, and that I had done it through a bulk email. These ones that are white in the background, not grayed out, are ones that I have created. So just as part of teaching the class, down here, I can create tags. So just think of it as that's what these are, is just different tags. So for whatever reason, I added a tag to him for California. Well, I'm going to get rid of it. So I just click it and now it's gone. If I wanted to add some other tags, there are some in the system that are just already in here. So I'll just say when he does buy, he's going to be a cash buyer. And let's say that he's probably going to be doing it greater than 6 months. So you can see I've just added those in there. If I wanted to create one that's not in there and just put in, good friend, I can just do that and hit add, and it's now created that as a tag. If I knew that he wanted to be in a certain neighborhood, I could type that in here, or he lives in a certain neighborhood, I can type that in here. You can create as many of these filters as you want. Now, part of why you want to do that and create these filters is back here under your contacts page here if I wanted to, under filters, I could go through and say, I want to find anybody who has bought a home. And then down here, you can see there's one person who fits that. If I take that out and I go back, now there's the 129. So that's how you would use these, those tags would be, like, you know, if you were wanting to do some marketing to a certain neighborhood or a certain type of a buyer, you know, I want to send, I got a property that has tall ceilings, so I want to go market it to all my tall friends. I mean, whatever, you can put that in there, okay? So that's all the basic information. Hopefully, is that the question you were asking, Nicole? I'm not sure if that's where the spot was. If that doesn't answer it, let me know and we'll go back and see if I can answer that. Yep, okay, good. Perfect. All right, so down here is all their contact information. Here's where another, so I could add a reminder by clicking here. I can add a reminder by clicking here. I can add a reminder by clicking up here. Like there's multiple ways I could add a reminder into the system. Down here's where I would just keep all of his basic, you know, information and things on like that. And down here, then is the Zap Score. So similar to what I was showing you before, if you were wanting to get to a certain area, you could just click and it'll take you to that area. So here is just an expanded version basically of that Zap Score we were looking at on the first page. So you can see, if I hover over this, I can see how frequently that he is viewing home detail pages. So he did it one time between 7 and 13 days ago, and then 5 times between 28 and 60 days ago. Logged into the website is basically that same time frame, but he did it 3 times during that week. So that's the other interesting thing. So if we're looking on here, you can see he looked at one home details page, but he actually did it 3 different times, is what that tells me, okay? So the more the things that they do, the more it'll show up here. And then down here is the home search insights. So this is showing me that basically the properties that he's looking at are in the 475 price range, 4-bedroom, 2 baths, 2,500 square feet. And these are the cities that he's looking in. And 50% of them are in West Jordan, a third in Taylorsville, and 16.7 in Murray. So, okay. So it's just giving you an idea of where they're searching and looking. And then the campaigns down here is what this one is if you wanted to set them up onto some email drip campaigns, the ones in this system aren't great, but here's what I will tell you to do that is great. And that is this. So in the campaigns section, if you'll scroll down here to home value updates, what you want to do is click on add home value update. Then you're going to type in an address for the property that you're wanting to do the home value update on. And you can see I've done that for Jay and have that set up and it's active. Now, here's what happens then. So all of these that I have set up here, when I say all of these, these 3 that I have set up, all of them, every one of them I have set up on that home value updates, okay? So if I go back down here to campaigns, you can see with Brandon, or no, this was my wife. I've got us set up on that. Now, how that works, what happens with that is this. On those home value updates is what it's going to do is based on this address, every Wednesday, it's going to go out and do a 2-mile radius search from that address. And then of that 2-mile radius search, it's going to find the 5 closest properties that are for sale to that house. Okay, so it's going to do a 2-mile radius search. The 5 closest houses that are in that 2-mile radius, there might be 20 houses, the 5 closest to the address that you've got on here, it is going to then send an email to that person. So in this case, Jay, here's the properties, here's the 5 properties that are closest to you that are for sale, basically. And then from there is where he then clicks on it and goes onto my website and starts doing searches and things. So that's what that's going to look like as far as them going in and doing that. Now, here's how it works though. So it does that 2-mile radius search every Wednesday. if those 5 properties, so the very first time it's just going to grab 5 properties that are the closest to them and send them. The next Wednesday, it's going to go search again. And if the 5 properties are the same, it's not going to send an email. But if one of the 5 has changed, a new one's come on the market, one's dropped off, whatever, it's going to send the email of the 5 closest properties. So it's going to look to do it every week, but it's actually only going to send it if there's a change. What I have found when I've set this up for me is I tend to get it every 2 to 3 weeks. So I get a response on this every 2 to 3 weeks. I'll get an email that shows the properties. Now, so that's going to vary for you depending on the area that you have set up for your contact. If the area that your contact is in has a lot of properties for sale and coming on the market, they probably will get an email once a week. But if it doesn't have them that often, it's probably going to get it every 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. So just kind of keep in mind, I wish there was a way to control the frequency of it. There's not at this point. I wish they would give us a dial up here that we could click on that says weekly or monthly or whatever, because ideal for me would it be just that it sends it once a month. But just know it'll do it once a week, and people who are interested will keep clicking on it and using it. And if they're not, they'll get rid of it. All right. The rest of this, I'm not going to really spend more time on, but you can, schedule showings, listing appointments, stuff like that, transactions. Here's your history to see kind of what's gone on with it, that type of a thing. All right. I feel like there was something else I was going to tell you, and I'm not remembering what it is. So I guess while I think about that, what questions do you guys have, if any? Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. All right, I'm going to go back down to campaigns then, and maybe people are typing. The next one is this new listing alerts. So right below home value updates, and occasionally, oh, that was the other thing I was going to tell you too, is occasionally you'll go to put in somebody's address here and it won't show up. My recommendation is to call the help desk when that happens, and they're basically going to probably tell you that they're going to give you multiples of reasons. Like, for example, they're going to say the property's never been on the MLS before, but this property of Jay's has never been on the MLS before. So when they say that, just say, yeah, but I've got other properties that's worked for. The reason I want you to do that is we need enough of us. Every time I find one, I call them in and do this. And we need enough of us calling in and there is some bug in the system, but they're using the excuse that, well, hasn't been on the MLS, so it's not going to show up. Well, this property has never been on the MLS. The one I have set up for my wife, my personal house, has never been on the MLS. So they're not showing up, not because of that. There's some other bug in the system. And what you'll have to do is just call and ask. And the more of us that do that, the more likely they're going to go, okay, there is a problem, and then they'll get it fixed. But just know that that's going to happen. So when that happens, here's what I recommend to do instead then. And this is not the ideal, but if you can't get it set up, then this is probably what I would say, is these new listing alerts. So new listing alerts, you can click on this, set one up now. Now notice up here, all I had to do is put in the address and it's going to take care of it. That's why I prefer this option. 2 reasons, actually. That's one of them. But to set up new listing alerts, you're going to click set up now. It's going to log me into my website. And then from here, I could do a search based on that area. So you could go do a neighborhood search for that neighborhood, which is probably what I would recommend instead of 2 miles. I would do just the neighborhood that they live in. And then you'll do the search and it'll bring up some properties. Once it does that, you're going to click this recommend search. If you don't click recommend search, it's not going to set it up. So I wish that this said like save search, but it's not. It's recommend search. That's basically the save button right here. Now you'll notice it says logged in as Jay Despain. So I'm going to sign out and go back to Zap here. Now, what you would want to do is set up that search for him, which I didn't mean to do, so I'll turn it off here. So once you set up that search for them, what's going to happen now is, oh, nope, that was something else. Sorry. That one we do want on. it would have shown up here is where it would have put that, not under the auto new listings alert. Once I had put that in here, it would have that same option where I could turn it on or off. But so if for some reason the address is not working here, set it up the search here. Now, here's why I say I don't like this one as much. This one is going to send to them, and you would want to keep it a smaller area, not that 2-mile radius. This one, if you do it just their neighborhood, it's going to send them an email every time a property in that neighborhood gets listed, whatever you identify as the area. So you could use this for somebody who says, hey, I want to find a property in this city and this beds and baths. You could do all that. And that's fine. For me, I just typically would say set it up as the home value updates first on your SOI. If for some reason that's not working, the address, then come down here and set it up based on their neighborhood, and then it's just going to send them an email every time a property gets listed in that neighborhood, which is not going to be too bad. If you keep it a smaller area, ideally, like I say, if you could get it to where essentially it's sending them an email every once a month, maybe even every somewhere between 3 and 6 weeks would be okay. But you just want to keep in front of them enough that they're seeing you sending these properties, because what's going to happen then is they're going to think you're selling all of those properties, which is then going to have them wanting to talk to you about the properties. So anyway, all right. That's all I've got for you, unless you guys have specific questions. And while I'm waiting to see if you do, Rebecca, I'll see if I can get back into yours here. See if it'll actually take me in there.
Okay.
Oh, somebody in person has a question, so I'll repeat it back so you guys can hear online. Go ahead, Ruby.
If there's a technical difficulty where it's not connecting, like when they set something up and they get called from another agent, that's become an issue for a few different, like when they set up addresses or they set up a link or a client in there, they're called by another agent, even when they're setting up their own. So they did a test run.
Okay, yes.
And it happens. So what should they do?
Okay, so what she was asking, and I'm going to rephrase what you said. Tell me if it's not what you really said. But essentially what she was saying is sometimes somebody goes to put in a contact into the system and it won't let you set up like the home value updates and stuff. Is that what you're saying? Or no?
Yes, or you do set them up. You put their contact information in there, and I had an agent do a test run just to set up their own and their own email address, and they were called by another agent in our company. So they're concerned that if they put in their clients in there, they're being called by someone else.
But did they add it? Okay, so what? That's not what she was asking. But that does bring up a good point, though, that you while you saying that. One of the things to watch for, guys, up here on the tags, if you notice one that says secondary, I can't remember if it says secondary agent, secondary something. What that means is the person is already in the system and the system is not going to flood them with tons of emails. And so essentially it's saying this person already exists in the database and another agent has claimed that email address, basically. And so because of that, it's not going to let you set them up on like the home value updates. So if you come across that, let me know and I can look it up. And then you, if you wanted, you could call the other agent and say, how do you know this person or whatever. But
yeah, and a good tip for them to do that, if you want to tell them to take a screenshot and email it to you when they ask you the question, so you can actually see
yeah, Ruby brings up a good point. She said, if you're going to do that, take a screenshot and then send it to me so that I can see that it says secondary. But I'll help you figure out who already has them in there. And unfortunately, it's not like we can go, oh, well, you know them better, so you get it. I mean, you're probably going to have to go to the client or the agent and see if one of them can request it to change. So anyway, all right. Okay, well, thanks for being on, guys. I'm going to see if I can help Rebecca with this, and I don't know what the problem is, but we're going to figure it out here in a second. It's the system is not letting her, it's not recognizing her.
And he's not, see, he knows it really well, but I recommend you call him the help desk because they're really technical.
Could it possibly be that, so when I look at the Zap thing and it says my website, it's homesforsale.century21.com/agent, all that stuff. But when I actually open my website, it's just rebeccamarshall.c21.com. Would it, can I just copy that and see if it works? Like, I'm not really sure.
No, we've got a switch that I have to turn on for you. And I got to do it. Which office are you in?
I'm supposed to be out of the Orem office, but for some reason it keeps saying that I'm in Cottonwood Heights.
Oh, so that could be part of the problem, but let's see here. So let me try it this way first. I probably should have started in Orem first, actually, but just because there's less agents to see if you were in there. Let's see. Yep, you are showing there. So I'm glad I didn't check there first. Okay, that was the switch we were missing. And I'll change this. Does it give me the option for Orem? No. Would you rather have Salt Lake or Provo?
Probably Provo, just because it's closer to me.
Yeah, it shouldn't make that much difference. But now that I've got this switch turned on, you should be good.
Okay.
Let me make sure though that one other, yep, and you've got the agent role. Now it might take overnight for it to show up, but once I've got that, it should. Oh, did it? Okay, good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, that's all we were missing.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.